especially those things that venture into the darkest recesses of our primal fears and spark the thoughts that for most would be the stuff of nightmares. In 2007, this fascination, along with some unexplainable experiences, led me to start a paranormal research team known today as Everyday Legacy Paranormal. Then in 2011, a road trip led myself and a close friend into the darkest places we had ever been. That was the beginning of Road Trip Paranormal. Now, while still active with them, I no longer lead either of those teams, but the people that make them up are the best friends a guy like me could ask for. Myself, along with Jason, Leo, Rose, and Michelle are reaching out to share our passions for everything odd, fringe, and paranormal with the world. We are Cryptic Heartland.
And we are live.
Hello.
Howdy.
I hope everyone's having a good weekend. Welcome to the Cryptic Heartland podcast, where no subject is off limits, everything's on the table, and we're not afraid to poke the bear, although neither one of our bears are here tonight, so...
So you say. Everyone's sick, so...
Say what?
Everyone is sick.
I know, right? Speaking of...
Yeah, don't catch it.
Yeah, no, it's bad stuff.
Don't give it to me. I'm going to have enough problems on my own.
Well,
So how's everyone doing?
And tonight we've got Carl with us tonight. Captain Carl.
Hi, everybody.
We
Glad
can
to
put
be
a
here.
face to the name.
Yes, sir. And don't try to adjust your phones. I am this good looking. Yes, that was a joke. So, well, where do you want to start tonight, Jason?
Well, how do you think last night went? Last night we did a public event at the depot again. It's
You know, I think the event went well. Had a really nice crowd. A bunch of new faces came in. I actually saw the one lady came in from Salina area.
Is she?
Yeah, and it's like, wow, okay, so the word is getting out about what you guys do and what you do at our facility.
Last year we had a family from Texas.
Yeah,
Who came in.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yep.
you were there.
So that's good. Activity-wise, my own personal, I kind of felt like it was a kind of a cold night. Some of our regular entities that tend to be around didn't seem to be want to converse with us last night. So,
Right.
Not so much, but
you know, that's the way this is, and that's what makes me. And I say this every time when I do a presentation at the depot, how much I appreciate the way that you guys work. When we started, about 2007, 2008 was the first time you guys came out and did the theater complex?
well, I wasn't with him yet at that point. I think it was 2011
Okay,
because Leo was there by then and
okay.
all that,
Yeah.
and he was with us.
And
first
that's what
time.
I remember was we had Renee and we had Leo and you. I'm pretty sure you were there
Yeah,
for that one.
I was there.
Yeah, that's about right. It was about the time I took my little hiatus.
Yeah, 'cause
So,
you didn't go until just this last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, 2015. 2015.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2015 was my first time there. So,
You'll have to pardon me. I've been taking care of that facility since February of 2005, so the years kind of run together. My experience with paranormal people up to that point was everything was attributed to paranormal activity. And when I first met you guys, when we came in, of course, I was a bit skeptical. I'd had some stuff happen to me in the building, but it was like, I'm a little leery about telling you that this or this or this or this, you know, because it could be jumped on. And the fact that in that first time that you guys came out, you worked so hard at finding an explanation for everything that we could explain, and then saying, on the rest of it, and that meant a lot to me. So
we didn't want to look stupid either.
well, I do that by myself. So.
But no, I mean, almost a lot of the things can be attributed to natural things. you know?
Sure.
I mean, I think last night we were finding it, answers to most of the stuff last night.
Right.
Um,
Before you guys came out, and you guys have all heard this story, maybe some of the people on the podcast haven't heard it, but when I first went to work there, I'm an old retired fire captain. That's why they call me Captain Carl, and a few other adjectives to go with it. Down in the basement, the electricians walked off the job without finishing the job. So we had plug-ins throughout the building, lights that had to stay on 24/7 because they never put an on-off switch on them. And at that time, it was the Depot Theater Company and a not-for-profit. So we had to stretch every dollar as far as we could. And the electric bill, at that time, the electric bill was running $18,000 a month.
Holy crap.
So and in the first 90 days of being there, I was able to get it down to 10. So almost, a 30% savings. And I did that by monitoring the heating air conditioning system and turning lights off. And that's how we get back to the original story is down in the basement. I started running conduit and putting in light switches and stuff so that we could turn lights on if you came off the elevator. The staircase that you guys use all the time, there was no light over the top of that when I started. Could you imagine?
Oh, the wooden one?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Could you imagine coming down that staircase with no lights or just a light at the bottom?
Well, I've tried going down it without the flashlight and stuff, and I go very slowly.
It's an old, narrow, steep staircase. That's the only.
Yeah.
So, I'm a pretty organized person. I gather all my stuff up, and there's a ledge right outside the elevator, and that's where I piled all my stuff to get started on this project. And I go to grab the electrical box, I put it up on the wall, and I mark where I want to drill my holes, and I go to get my drill. My drill is on a table behind me now. And I'm like, why in the world did I put it there? So I pick it up, I hook it up, put my bit in it, drill a hole in the masonry wall, go to get my anchor kit. And my anchor kit is now about 6 foot away from me. And I'm going, why in the world would I leave it clear over there? So I gather everything back up and I drill my holes and I go to get my hammer. My hammer's now on the table behind me where there wasn't anything. It was just a little narrow theater table, something that prop. And I'm like, they messed with me for 2 weeks straight as I worked in the basement. Things moved. And I'm like, what in the world? Am I going mental? I know I'm not on drugs and I'm not drinking, so what in the world's going on? Extension cords would disappear, or I'd be in the middle of working on them and they'd unplug.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, wait a minute, I'm not even pulling on that cord. How did it come unplugged, Okay, keep your feet off of it, dummy, because I'm one of those guys that I look in the mirror first and say, what am I doing wrong here? So that was my first experience. And during that week, I had some plumbing questions about the building. I'm new to the building, okay? So I have questions about the plumbing, and I called the company that worked on it. And the kid comes, and he's our age, okay? So he's not a kid, but he's younger than me, so he's a kid. Meets me at the lobby door, okay? Steps inside the lobby door and he says, I won't go any farther. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I don't want to talk about it. I'll answer any of your questions you want, but I'm staying right here. And He actually made another person come and finish the job, and it was all down in the basement.
Wow.
And to this day, he has never told us what happened to him. But I suspicion that he ran into Walter. That is my suspicion, and I can elaborate on that here in a little bit. So,
Well, Jake had a run-in with Walter last year. Very first rattle out of the box when we were. This was 2018, January 2018.
A year ago.
And first rattle out of the box when we were still setting up. Jake and I were running a camera cable down to the basement, and he thought he saw me come around the corner and up one of the aisles. Down there in that first little room right near the stairway.
mm-hmm.
And he of course I didn't know that at the time. I walk up behind him and he turns around me and his eyes got about that big around and he's like, "Where did you come from? You were right there just now." You know?
That was his first time ever being there. Too.
Yeah.
And that first time out being with us.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
That
But
was
he
fun.
said it was of course he hindsight 2020, he only saw kind of a shadowed silhouette.
Right.
But he said the guy was about the same size as me, about the same build, looked like he had the same kind of coat on as me. But I was in a room way back over here. I was over there by all the HVAC. You know, I wasn't in that little supply room or whatever with all the shelves set up in aisles, and that's where he thought he saw me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, while I was doing the project down in the basement, I always had a sensation that somebody was right over my shoulder watching what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And it would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I don't want to say it's an evil presence because I don't think we have an evil presence in the building at all. And I'm
Right.
thankful for that.
Right.
But Walter comes off and emits a angry persona. And that's the best way I can describe it.
That's
Yeah.
what you said the first time we were there.
Yeah. He's mad about something. And I always attributed it that Walter always stayed right around that electrical room because where you come down that staircase is where my main electrical input is.
Right.
And there's always that electrical hum. And that was always the area of the building that gave me an uneasy feeling. Mm-hmm. And I work with electricity all the time, so it's not like I'm scared of it. I respect it.
Right. Right.
But, and it's like, why am I feeling this way? Mm-hmm. And that went on for a number of years until you guys were there the first time. And I think it was Renee said, if you give them a name, it will help settle the relationship. Mm-hmm. And just out of the blue, I decided that I'm going to call him Walter after the Jeff Dunham character, and because he's always grumpy, And as the years went by, then I started picking up on another entity that I gave the nickname of Wyatt. Mm-hmm. And to me, and I've seen him in shadows, I've never had the full facial thing up till a couple of years ago. Was last summer or the summer before? Mm-hmm. I always had that shadowy impression of somebody that's about 5'2", 5'4", slim stature with curly hair. And the curly hair made me think that he was possibly African American. Uh-huh. And you add that to the history of the building, that back when that building was built in 1897, it's different times than it was today.
Right.
If you were black, if you were Hispanic, if you were Indian, if you were Chinese, if you were Irish, if you were Catholic, you could not rent a room there. That's how it was.
Right.
But Fred Harvey would hire young black men to work in his cleaning area, and the area down there where you see the shelving and stuff, that was the wash area. That the dirty dishes would come down to dumbwaiter and all be washed down in that
Oh,
general
okay.
area.
Yeah.
So that was why that added to my thoughts that possibly he was a young black man. Other people have said no, he's got kinky hair, but he's they don't get the perception that he's a young black man. So what is I leave that to everybody that's more experienced than me.
Now I just picture Walter the puppet now.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I picture.
And I wish Lena would call in if she's listening, because with the first time that I met Lena was 2 years ago,
Thanks.
and
Yeah. Think so.
maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And my coach is saying,
1 year.
and it's not the Dale Earnhardt, you're number one with me signal either. But Lena actually tells the story, and that she was met by Walter at the lobby door,
Right.
and that he looked at her or said, "Who are you and why are you here?" And she explained who she was and why she was there. And what's your name? They call me Walter, but that's not my name. And she goes, well, what's your name? I kind of like being called Walter. And I'm like, okay, because if he said it was Fred or, but and I had not visited with her at all, but she was sharing this with one of your other team members. And they come and told me about it, and I went over to kind of introduce myself to Lena and give her a little background of the building, and she starts telling that same story. And I go, well, this is how it all comes about. And she said, well, I keep getting Mr. Magoo, but it's not Mr. Magoo. Is a mental picture she kept getting. And the other team members went over and pulled up their phone and pulled up Walter, the Jeff Dunham character, and we just slid it out on the table. We never even, on the phone, we just never even acknowledged it. And she goes, that's it. That's who I see right there. That's who I see. And then, because she had no idea who Jeff Dunham even was.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, that's what she told us. And so it's interesting how these things kind of come together.
Right. Yeah.
The next thing that happened, and this is once again is prior to you guys coming out the first time, to save money and be efficient, we had the old three-fold towels that you used to have at the high school, schools, and everybody goes in and they grab a handful of them, and they're all littered all over the floor and everything.
Right.
Well, I had learned years ago that the best thing to do was go to these electronic cabinets that you wave your hand and it dispenses a towel.
Yeah.
So I retrofitted the building and put these in. And in the main women's bathroom, I put a brand new one up, brand new out of the box, put it in, hooked it all up, and set it so that it only dispenses one towel.
Have you heard this before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's how I had it set up. It dispenses one towel, it won't give you another towel till you tear that towel off, okay? A couple days later, I'm in one of the stalls cleaning the toilets, and I hear the paper towel dispenser go, "Boop." And I'm like, hello, who came in? Because I'm in the women's bathroom,
Right,
okay?
right.
There's nobody there.
Oh, wow.
And nobody had come in, nobody had left. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I turn around and I go back in the stall and finish it up what I'm doing. Boop. It dispensed another towel. And I'm like, oh, I got a bad cabinet. It's got to have a short in it or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Put it back in the box, went out, got another one, mounted it up, started back cleaning toilets, boop. And I'm like, okay, there's something going on here. And it will, at times, dispense 3 paper towels without any of them being torn off.
Wow.
So I nicknamed that entity Myrtle after Moanin' Myrtle of the Harry Potter series. And that's how she lets me know she's around. And it's not a daily thing. I might go 2 weeks and I'll be in doing something. Well, hi Myrtle, how are you? You know, I'll continue what I'm doing, and invariably 2 to 3 towels.
Wow.
And that's how she lets me know. I was real concerned when I converted the old manual pump hand soaps to electronic that I was going to come in and have hand soap piles. And so far, knock on wood, they haven't decided that would be a good joke to play on Carl. So when Jason and the crew came out the first time, they were asking me, well, have you noticed things around here? And I kind of gave them the general areas of the building that things have happened. And I really didn't notice anything in the theater. I really never noticed anything up on the second floor. But the people on the train station side of the building, the train comes in somewhere between 11:30 and 2 in the morning if it's close to on time.
Right.
And the people that staff that would tell me, said, we heard somebody running upstairs. And I'm like, well, you're hearing the pigeons on the roof.
Right.
Okay. And then I start checking to see if I got somehow or another got a raccoon in the building or a possum or this. No evidence of any of that. But to this day, you can be in the train station and you can hear, and it's not adult feet, it's kids running up and down the hallway.
Wow.
So,
Even today?
oh yeah, I would almost bet that we could have gone in had I been able to stay till 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is,
Yeah.
it has to be quiet down in the building. Renee, if Renee's not too sick to call in tonight,
Yeah.
Renee was the first one to kind of put a name on one of the kids that we have upstairs, and it's something Beth. We're fairly sure it's Elizabeth, and we've kind of determined Elizabeth is about 9 years old, and in 2013 I had a major heart attack, and when I came back, I would be sitting where you go down that hallway between the dressing rooms on the second floor is my office. And as I was recovering, I'd spent quite a bit of time in my office.
Right.
And Elizabeth would come down and peek around my door. You know how a kid will sneak up and peek around the door at you, see what mom and dad's doing?
Uh-huh.
Well, she would come and peek at me. Never see her like this. I'd always see her out of the corner of my eye.
Right.
And like I say, I had an approximate height, and to me, she presents herself as if she's wearing like a white paisley dress. I can't tell you what color her hair is.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've always pictured her too.
Yeah.
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 Well, she would come and check on me 3 or 4 times a day, and then as my health got better and better and better, it would cut back the number of times that I would see her. But after the 3rd or 4th time that I sensed this, whenever she would come and check on me, and I would sense her, I'd go, "Hi, Elizabeth, how are you today?" And she would giggle and run down the hallway. And it was just as plain as day. You could hear her giggle and run down the hallway. And I was not on good narcotics at that time, just for the record. I was on no narcotics at all. I've never been diagnosed as criminally insane or anything like that. So. But we have a good time. We honestly do. And,
That's awesome.
And once again, thank you guys for letting me come on and flatter on. I don't want to hog all the conversation.
No.
But
No, go ahead.
that's why I say last night was kind of a cold night,
Yeah.
because they've also picked up on a little boy that hangs out in that area, and according to Lena, we have quite a few young kids that are in the building.
Right.
Now, why they're there, I can't answer. It's been hypothesized that we could have been a stopover for the orphan trains
Sure.
from
Yeah.
numerous different wars, because, like as I say, we were a stopover for the troop trains of the Spanish-American War, for World War I, and even World War II. They would actually, after World War II, travel on train kind of fell out of favor because everybody said, I have a car, I can go here, I can go here, I don't have to go
Right.
where the rails go.
Right.
And so rail travel fell out, and after rail travel kind of fell out, Fred Harvey's operation said it's no longer profitable to run the Dodge Depot, and they closed it up. Well, at some point during that, it was a house of ill repute. So are the kids that are there the children of the women of the evening that somehow keep... So
Right.
the building it just has an amazing amount of history to it. History, I really didn't care about history when I was in high school. It was just something I learned enough to pass the class.
Right.
And around 1996, 97, I was up at Emmitsburg, Maryland at the National Fire School. And it's just 9 miles down the road from Gettysburg. And my roommate actually had a car, and we went up and did an evening walk around of Gettysburg.
Oh,
And you can feel the presence of this. And as we came around Little Round Top and Big Round Top, and you see the difference of height. 16 foot is about the difference between where the high ground was and where the low ground is. And you look out across that cornfield where Pickett's Charge come across, and the number of people that were killed there, and it just, I've got some military background, and it's like, holy, I wouldn't even, it was like, they always say, yeah, we're going to take that hill, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll be right here when you come back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can. So I don't have any military background or experience, but I've done a lot of study, and just there's been times in history when 4, 5, 6 foot difference in elevation has decided the fate of a battle. 16 feet is huge. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's huge when you're talking about strategic advantage.
Yes, sir. And that's why the Confederates worked so hard to try and do an end around through Little Round Top, and I can't think of the north end of it. And the Union Army was able to stop that. And had they been able to do a flanking maneuver, we'd all be stars and bars now.
Right.
So,
wow.
But that's really about the time that I started perceiving that there was. I've always been open to the idea that there's an afterlife, and there's a possibility of entities that are here that we can't explain. But that was the first time that I actually felt that I felt them. And not long after that, I was working a Code Blue. And this gentleman had collapsed at home. His son had come home and found him, called us. We were first on scene. So me and my partner are about as close as you and me working on this individual. And I had this sensation that there was somebody right here between us looking down going, what are you doing? And I never said anything to my partner. And the gentleman did not survive. But about 3, maybe 2 shifts later, which have been 6 days, we're sitting around having a cup of coffee, and my partner goes, did you notice something weird at that? And I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? And I go, you mean like there was somebody right in between us that was watching? And he goes, I was afraid to say anything. And I'm like, yeah, I felt that, and that. Did I just become more in tune to it from what I experienced at Gettysburg? I don't know, but something opened the door and made me. Maybe my life changed enough that I slowed down. That I'm a go kind of guy, and then life has kind of slowed me down. So
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people don't even think about it. But
Yeah.
once you do, once you have a moment and you start thinking about it,
Yeah.
it just kind of sticks with you.
Yeah.
And then everywhere you go, you start thinking about the possibility
Yeah.
of something else being right there with you.
Well, I used to bowl 2 to 3 nights a week. That's and I had one of my bowling teammates was big into going out and taking pictures at the Old Fort, as a matter of fact.
Uh-huh.
And he was coming in and showing, oh, look at these orbs that I caught doing this, and look at this face, and you know, there's always that power of suggestion. They taught me in military school that if you can look like you belong there, people will ignore you. Okay? But the human mind is also programmed to look for what they recognize. So that's why you can look at a cloud and see an alligator,
Right.
or you see a stain on the wall and go, okay, it's this. This goes back to your conversation that you had here a couple of weeks ago about
Yeah.
the power of perception.
Yeah. You're leading people into believing in something. And
Right.
Right.
So, and we're programmed to do that
Yeah.
because back when we used to live in the trees, we had to keep an eye out for the things that would hurt us. So, I always wrote a lot of that off to that. Now I look at some of that and go, wow. Just last night, after we set the cameras up, they actually got a picture of, it looks like an entity at the bottom of the staircase, this same staircase that we keep talking about. And it looks like a face looking around the corner. My wife swears up and down she can see 2 legs, and it's like he's hunched over and looking around. And I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I can see the face, but I'm struggling to see the legs and stuff. But I can definitely see what looks like, and I'm looking at it going, I think that's Wyatt is who I'm seeing, just from the shadows that I've seen.
On the second floor?
No, basement.
Down in the basement, that's stairs. Okay.
Yeah. I forget who had the picture on their camera or on their phone.
Yeah.
No, it was Elizabeth. Elizabeth has it. So Jake's wife.
Yeah.
So now we got 2 Elizabeths. We got to keep them straight.
Right.
So
That's crazy. You know, the amount of times I've been there, I haven't had one single thing happen in the basement.
is that right?
Never.
Well,
Never. Ever. You guys are there for a moment. You have sighting. You know? But no, never have. I've had encounters up there on the staircase, second floor, and down the hallway, and then out in the theater, but never in the basement.
see, that's the thing that surprised me is the amount of activity that you guys have picked up in the theater, because I've always thought that the theater part that's added on, it was built and added on we started construction in '97. We opened in 2004, the summer of 2004.
I was wondering about that last night.
Yeah. So when you walk into the main theater, as you come down the entryway there, there's 2 great big columns right there, and then the chairs are around the side. That was the end of the original building. Everything from there north is new construction, but we were allowed to build in the footprint of the original building. So all the basement existed there prior to our new construction.
Okay.
But everything that you're walking on is all new. So that's the reason I figured, well, there's not a lot of history there. But 2 years ago, we started the renovation of the West End. For the longest time, probably when you were there the first time, that was all just open walls and
Looked like attic and all that.
Yeah. Well, we did construction in there and turned those were originally hotel rooms, and they've been converted into offices. And when we started that construction, I think, and once again here I am thinking, is that the entities didn't like it, especially Walter didn't like it, and so consequently they moved into other areas. And that's when we started. The other thing is, the more times that you guys come out, it seems like we pick up more and more activity.
Yeah.
But That's kind of why I think, well, it's kind of cold last night, you know.
Right.
Well, and we were talking about stuff last night about So prior to us ever coming in, was there any other team or group that ever came in?
You guys were the first.
We're the first. Okay.
You guys were the first.
So we're the first to actually dab into all that stuff. Well, and we were talking last night about the possibility. Well, we've talked about this before. Where now the amount of people that are coming in all the time, especially those coming in to do our events and stuff like that, coming in with that notion of paranormal and stuff. But if they're bringing something in with them, and if they're bringing something in, what if they're kind of blocking the ones that are there?
Yep.
And stuff like that, and maybe having like that clash where that's why it is quiet.
There's all kinds of potential for different interactions there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And the thing is, let's kick that another idea. The entities that are coming in with them are interacting with the entities in the building. They don't have time for us.
right.
Right. Could be.
So,
Or it could be.
you know, hey, Joe, I haven't seen you since grade school, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I mean, and we had a lady there last night. We've investigated her house, and something, and she thought there's a possibility. I overheard her group talking about the possibility that the spirit that is at her house might have tagged along last night there. You know who I'm talking about. Halstead.
Oh, yeah, duh. Okay, yeah. She's actually been on the show before.
Yeah.
No.
So, I thought about, well, maybe so.
Yeah.
So,
That could be some of the other. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is as we progress through this, that more and more people are bringing pieces of the technology with them.
yeah, they are.
Most of them are using apps that are running on their phones, and I'm like, okay, is the fact that we're using more and more and more electronics, is that pulling energy down? So consequently,
Well, a lot of them, if there's I don't know that would necessarily pull energy down, but there's the opportunity for. Okay, so when I'm working with people, I always kind of caution them about the apps the apps that you can get on phones, because there is so much of that is just strictly it's novelty.
Yeah.
It's not anything actually intended for investigative
the purpose it's being
purposes.
used for.
Or scientific proof of any kind.
Yeah, and like some of these, some of the apps that have, well, okay, and then there's other apps that are actually intended for actual investigation, but they're being used completely wrong. Some of them that have that actually say legible words out loud that you're not the portal, but
I can pull that up and have people even listen to it. But see, last night one of the apps that was being used by quite a few, which is okay. I mean, it was fun. It was entertaining. It was the app. I don't know what it's called or anything, but it's the kind of one that has like a beeping sound. So it's kind of like a radar.
Oh, like the ghost radar type thing.
Spits out words. So it just spits out random words.
See, those apps actually have a pre-programmed vocabulary.
Yeah.
And now, some of those, not the Ghost Radar one, that one's pure novelty, but there are apps that do that are intended and designed to be used for investigative purposes, but you're supposed to be listening. You're supposed to have a list. If you go to the website, you can get a list of the pre-programmed vocabulary, and you're supposed to be listening for words that aren't in that vocabulary.
Ah.
So, I don't know what the premise is behind that really, but it's, just other than just, them manipulating. I don't know. When you're a ghost, do you learn how to manipulate code?
I don't know.
I mean,
But
I guess it could be on the Akashic record, but I mean, that's a stretch.
yeah. But people were using that last night. I think several people were using them. And it was fun. I mean, they were going around. You hear the beeping everywhere. Yeah. And they were hearing the words, and they kept on, spitting out, oh, it's saying this name or saying this name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, but I wasn't going to say anything.
Right.
I'm not going to say
Right.
anything. But, then you got the portal,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just saying everything out loud backwards.
Right.
And we use it.
The way that one actually works, I really like the portal myself because there actually earnestly has to be some manipulation there to get an intelligible word out of it, because what it does, it will record. It's actually a record and playback, but it plays things backwards. Mm-hmm. And so it always runs about, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds behind, and then it plays whatever it plays back backwards. So you get these 5, 10, 15-second bursts of people talking backwards, and it's actually designed to be used in German.
Yeah, because it sounds like German.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds... have you heard us use it?
No.
Okay, here's what it sounds like. Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
And see, while doing this,
That I could have swore it just said Carl. Did it?
I don't know. I was talking.
Well, Carl is an old German name.
And see, now it has 4 different channels.
I just heard feeling well.
So what?
I just heard feeling well.
Oh.
I feel well.
But see, we get a lot of intelligent responses and answers our own questions, and it has said our own names through this multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were down at, was this what you were using at Boot Hill? When you and I were sitting in the old church there at Boot Hill?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I hear Jason as plain as day.
Yeah. It said that through my name. I hadn't really done anything all night. And I wanted to get in there into the theater last night with Jake, because Jake wanted to work with me last night. Mm-hmm. So we snuck in. I sat down. Wasn't doing it. Things weren't really going on. He was getting a little bit of activity with the 360 gyroscope, the thing.
Yeah.
He was getting a little of that and some answers with the flashlight. But then I finally go on stage with him, and I start the portal. I ask him, do you want me to do the portal? So I put my phone down in the middle of the stage and started going. And Elizabeth, actually, she has the walkie, and she's like, hey, Jason, somebody is radioing for you. And that's when, through the portal, you hear, Jason. And everyone's like, that just said your name.
Yeah. Wow.
It was like it was mimicking what she just said.
Yeah.
So it keeps saying my name. It says Roth's name all the time at the shop. It's always talking about him.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you guys that you have 3 members of your team that when they are present, we seem to have more activity.
Yeah.
And that's Renee, and that's Leo, and that's Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
last night, not there. And it was different.
It's different, and I don't know why, but it seems like. Now, I'm going to bring up the old fort.
Right.
Okay. What's that been? 2 months ago that we actually did the old. 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
Yeah, we did the old fort, and I was invited to go along.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, and it was Roth and Chris and myself, and we went to the second floor, and wandered through the whole thing, and I'm going, this place is quiet. Nothing. And we came down the stairs, and I think Chris was using either the Mel meter or something similar to what that is. It's,
Right.
it's a little red box. I can't call it.
Yeah,
by name.
he's got one of those little. It's kind of a new
Yeah.
version of
But anyway.
Ghost Stop has it or something.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
okay.
He had a K2 and I had a K2, and I'm heading outside. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go outside and get eaten by mosquitoes, and I get ready to, and I'm as close as from me to you from Chris, and his K2 starts blipping,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, okay, there's some activity. And about that time, the device goes, Carl. And I'm like, okay, which one of you two called me? You know, and they're both going, it's talking to you. And I turned around with my K2, and we just stood dead silent in the middle of this room, standing over a pile of trash of all things. And we're standing there, and my K2 starts blipping. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting, you know, okay. And don't ask me why. All of a sudden, I just said, did you follow me from the depot? Bam, solid red. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. And once again, don't ask me why. I said, are you the entity we call Beth? Bam, full red. And we sat there for 10 or 15 minutes of solid question and answers, which some of them have actually have got them on recorded,
Yeah.
I think. And Carl's got to learn how to ask questions, because I want to ask questions. Who are you? Why are you here? No, it don't work that way. You gotta go. You know, and we start. Are you a soldier? Nothing. Are you a nurse? Nothing. You know, are you a maintenance man here? You know,
Right.
You know, and nothing. And then I asked that question: did you follow us from the depot? And from that point on, we had just direct answers. You'd ask a question, it either never moved or it went full red.
Wow.
And the longer we stood there, I just felt energy draining out of my body. And I'm like, guys, I got to go sit. So went out and sat on the tailgate of the pickup, which was right outside the door. And of course, I got a new toy, and I'm a tool-holic, okay? This
Right.
is the first time I've had a K2 in my hand. Okay? So I'm doing this and this and this. And you and Roth are messing with cameras or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I pointed it back towards the door, and as I pointed it back to the door, it lit up. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I holler at Jason and Rose. I go, check this out, because I'm going all around the pickup and all the stuff sitting around there. Nothing. As soon as I point it back at the door, we'd get a reaction. And I'm like, Rose goes, oh, they followed you out. And I'm like, okay. I took the K2 and dropped it in my shirt pocket.
Yeah.
And sitting here in my shirt pocket, all of a sudden, Rose looks over and he goes, oh my God, she's sitting in your lap. And we sat there on the back of the pickup for a while, and then went back. The entity went away or had to recharge, whatever the case may be. We went in, 3 times?
Yeah.
And when I came out, these guys were still doing their investigations, and I believe Jake was down in the it was Dan. It was down in the basement playing with his new toy, and got the dancing man and some other things.
Oh, Jake with the SLS.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It was Jake.
Yeah.
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 And I was so tired that I couldn't even drive home. Cindy had to drive us home that night.
Really?
And it was probably 7, 8 o'clock on Sunday night. We did this on a Saturday night. It was 7, 8, 9 o'clock Sunday night before I started feeling normal.
Really?
Yeah, I was pulled dry, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that. So consequently, I want to do it again. But that's what led me to go ahead and invest in a K2 for myself. Is I want to go through the building, and as I do updates in the building, and we're adding more computer stuff and everything else, I'm trying to find the documentable hotspots. So if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, look, I'm getting a heck of a reading here," okay, I can tell you what that is. And,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
But it's you guys' fault. You got me hooked.
It is addicting. It is addicting. Well, the more I do it, the more I want to keep doing it, doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You care if I change the subject about
Go
600
ahead.
degrees?
go ahead.
Individual was visiting with you last night about seeing what a very large bird. Do you remember this conversation?
Yep.
I don't know where he saw that, because I kind of came into the conversation as it was already going, but my ears went up and I'm like, hey, and
I want to say it was somewhere
in this area?
southeast or something like that.
Okay.
In almost maybe close to Oklahoma, or
Oklahoma,
whatever. But
Arkansas,
yeah.
down
But
in
it,
that.
but it was yeah.
But I stopped and I said, "Can you describe what the head of the bird looked like?" And he goes, "Well, I never really saw the head," and it was like,
Let me tell exactly what.
"You do
Bring
what,
it up. So what he was telling me at the very beginning of the story was him and a bunch of his friends. They were out. I think it was like some lake area, and he said it was really foggy out there. But they went out there and they were drinking and having fun and everything like that. But he said they hadn't really started doing much. So,
Right.
But they all saw the same thing. What looked like coming through the fog was like wings, gigantic wings coming through. But he said it looked like what he saw was like it was pixelated, kind of like the Predator. But he saw wingspan like flapping,
Yeah.
and it came over the water. And that's when you were hearing that, and that's
Yeah.
when you came over.
and so one of the first questions I said, how wide would you estimate the wingspan?" And he goes, "Oh, it's big." And I said, "Well, 10, 12, 15 feet?" And he goes, "Oh, every bit of that." And I'm like, I'm not trying to lead this guy. I'm
Right.
trying to ask honest questions. And that's when I asked him if you saw what the head of the bird looked like. And he goes, "No, I never really saw the head of the bird." And I'm like, well, the Indian folklore talk about the thunderbirds.
Uh-huh.
And they're a large hawk-like, eagle-like bird, but the face of them looks like old wrinkled leather. And that's how they describe it. That was the reason I wanted to know. And,
Right.
It's like I've personally never seen one. I've seen some documentaries that they've actually captured some of these large birds at a distance, and then you get into the argument. Well, it wasn't that big. You were closer than you thought you were.
Right.
But when you see one go over the top of a boat and the wingspan's the same width as the boat, and the boat's 15, 18 foot long, it's like, now, we all know that optical illusions can happen.
Right.
But
right.
I was watching a show the other night, and I feel like I'm hogging the conversation here.
No, you're
Jason. But this ties into Bigfoot, too, which may come into part 2. He said, what we know of the Earth, that we've actually documented of the Earth, would be about the same as if we would take a glass of water, dip it in a lake, and look at it and go, there is no intelligent life in this lake. Now, you expand that to the point of what we know of the universe, and it's like, yeah,
Right.
we know a drop of water in an ocean.
Right. Yeah.
And that just hit me as so profound that
Yeah.
have I ever seen a Bigfoot? No. Have I ever seen a UFO? I've seen lights I can't explain. So it's one of those things that I'm open-minded to.
Well, it's when it boils right down to it. North America in all actuality, is pretty sparsely populated. When you compare it to other places that, well, I mean, there's a lot of other places that are even more sparse, but there's a lot of places that are a lot more densely populated.
Yeah.
We're actually fairly sparsely populated, and there's a lot of places that there's not a human eye on at any given point in time.
And that's including Kansas right here.
Yeah, yeah,
Out in the prairie,
absolutely,
out in the Flint Hills.
absolutely. And there are birds on record that got that big. The
Yes.
California condor.
Yeah.
What if it's not really extinct?
Well, I don't
You know?
believe it is, but I
Well,
think
it's functionally extinct.
yes. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So what if it's really not that rare, or as
Well-
rare as they think it is, or there any number of that there you hear all the black cat stories here in
Right.
Kansas.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Did you ever see the video? It came out maybe a year or two ago, like a trail cam, and I can't tell you where it was at or where it was located at, what country or whatever, but it was at night, black and white, trail cam. It was kind of on the ground,
Yeah.
and different animals were coming through and everything, and I don't know if this was CG, I don't know if it was faked or what, they don't know, or it hasn't been told, I haven't found it, haven't really researched it that much, but it shows what looks like the dodo bird.
Oh wow.
The extinct, long ago, dodo
Yeah,
bird
yeah,
walking through
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, exactly how you see it
Yep.
in drawings.
Did
And
he,
there it
did he
was.
have a KU hat on?
No.
Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
Leo might be mad about that. But yeah.
They still have footage surface every now and again, supposedly new footage of Tasmanian tigers.
Right.
Yes.
Right,
You
right,
know.
right.
I actually watched that here a while back.
It- it's and that's,
Mother Nature is pretty resilient.
yeah,
If she decides she wants to do something, she'll fool you.
right.
There was the animal that was out in, I think it was out in Africa, was being seen all over the place, but there was no proof of it. But all the villagers and people that live out there all were seeing this giraffe, half zebra type creature thing. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it was
yeah.
part of the cryptic zoology myth,
Uh-huh.
along with Bigfoot and all that. And now they're at the Cedar County Zoo,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I gotta tell you an off. We're cruising along on the Harley, okay? Coming home from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and right out on 400 out here east of Wichita. And Cindy looks over and she goes, "What in the world is that?" And we had to pull over to the side of the road and stop. And it's either a mule zebra hybrid or a horse zebra hybrid. It's a horse. It obviously looks like a horse or a mule, but it's got the brown and black stripes on it.
really,
It's the strangest looking thing. And it's like we had to stop and take pictures of it. But yeah, there's a good reason for that. There's another funny story, and I'll throw it. Once again, involves a Harley.
East of Leon.
east of Leon.
Yeah, east of Leon. Yes, we're cruising along on the Harley, and we're down in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And Cindy had got heat stroke on the back of the bike,
Oh no.
and we had to stop at a little stop and rob and get her doctored up on Powerade and everything so we could go on.
Right.
Well, you go down to Frederick, and then you turn, and it goes over into Wichita Falls. And we're cruising along that road there, and Cindy's going, "I see camels." And I'm like, "Cindy, you need some more Powerade." and Cindy's my wife. And she goes, "Damn it, I see camels." And we get down the road about another 2 miles, and here's a herd of camels on the side of the road. And she goes, "Stop this bike, I see camels." And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw the first batch too,
back around my hometown, you will see on rare occasions, it's pretty rare now, but Panhandle of Texas, you will on occasion see wild ostrich
Yes.
down there.
Yep.
I'm serious.
Yep.
That serious as a heart attack. There was a big craze here, I don't know, probably 25, 30 years ago. A bunch of the farmers went to raising ostrich and emu,
Yep.
and they were trying to get a slaughter market going on. They couldn't get a slaughterhouse that was, or a slaughter company that was suited to butcher these animals to come to town. So they were all, sitting there with these, $35,000, $40,000 pairs of animals, breeding pairs and whatnot, and they're going broke feeding them.
Yep.
And so they just turned them loose.
Yep.
Just set them free, and they actually took off for a while. They actually, I believe in my I don't know this for sure, but I was told in my home county they actually opened an ostrich season for a couple of years because they were doing so much crop damage.
Wow.
Yep. One of my battalion chiefs lost about $25,000 over an ostrich deal. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is an ostrich egg is $1,500.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And it's like, okay, he's gonna raise ostriches and this, that, and the other, and it's like, oh, don't bring it up with him now. But,
You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. While we're gone, you guys take the opportunity to like and share and hit subscribe and thumbs up and whatever you can. Help us get the word out. And let me get to the right scene here. We will be back in just a few minutes.
All right.
cool.
back.
What? No. How's it going?
Huh?
Everything okay at home?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kid got scratched by a cat.
You ever notice that the people that work in the medical industry, that it could be somebody else's kid and they scratch and you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this and going to do this, going to do this. Yeah. And it's your own kid. It's like, we'll put a Band-Aid on it. It'll be okay.
Wash it up. That's all it needs.
Walk it off.
We know what happens in ERs. That's why.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cheaper with the Band-Aid.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we used to call EMS, is red lights and Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm that old, and I go back to when the doctors told us that you're not doctors, you're not supposed to be doing anything in the field. You throw them in the ambulance and you bring them in. They didn't even want us doing CPR
Oh
on
my
people.
gosh.
That, back in the early 70s.
Wow.
That was telling my age here again, but so it's amazing that the advancements that I've seen in the professional industries. I mean, it's just great, and thank God they're there.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Some
So
of them.
some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Hey, there's a few jerks in every business. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true. Very true.
And if you're going in to have a medical procedure, you
Yeah.
want a doctor that thinks he's God.
Very true.
When you're in
Very true.
recovery, you don't want a doctor that thinks he's God.
Right. Yeah.
So, you said you had some subjects you wanted to talk about.
Nope.
Nope.
Throw me under the bus like that, I tell you.
No, did you hear it in the news? I saw it pop up on Facebook yesterday. Out in North Carolina, the news broke about a 3-year-old boy that was lost in the woods for what was it, 2 days? I believe it was 2 days off in the woods, and they had a huge search party for him. And when they found him, he said that he hung out with a bear for 2 days.
Hung out with a bear
yeah,
for
he's
2
3
days.
years old. He's 3-year-old, and he and that's what he explained to his mom. You know, what were you doing? I hung out with the bear, Mom. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Isn't it
and
tough?
not a scratch on him. He's fine.
Wow.
And then you read the comments and other stories, and this is coming from the BFRO, of course, site. So that's
Right.
Bigfoot Research Organization.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And but there's other people that are commenting on it and stuff like that, saying that there's another boy, not that I guess a while back, that same thing, said that hung out with a bear, a furry bear, and was fed berries,
Interesting.
and not a mark on him.
Very interesting.
And we can prove that Roth wasn't in North Carolina at the time.
I don't know. Well, I can guarantee he's not out in the woods.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not the hiker.
He wouldn't be out there on his own, not on his own
Not
reconnaissance
voluntarily
anyway. No.
doing that. Now he'd be out there to help and probably rescue the kid.
Yeah.
But not voluntarily hiking or doing anything like that. No.
Well, and you brought that story up last night.
Yeah.
And we visited about it a little bit, and back to the Indian lore.
Uh-huh.
Okay. They told stories of the big hairy men that would come in and steal children. And some of the anthropologists that have gone back and kind of done this story are wondering if it wasn't a female Bigfoot that was doing the stealing. Maybe she had lost a child,
Right.
or something like that, and was actually looking to.
Right.
She needed something to mother and raise.
Right.
Because you brought up how humans do that.
Mm-hmm.
They kidnap.
Right.
Yeah.
You hear it in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
So why not?
Well, and they tell the same stories in Africa of the gorillas will actually take a human child in if they can.
Right.
So there's some anthropological history that says this is possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched this. It was one of those nature shows,
Mhm.
and it showed a pack of lions. It was female lions, and they were like killed a bunch of the. It was baboons.
Uh-huh.
Was attacking a bunch of them, and they killed a mom and everything. And there was this little baby baboon
Right.
that was right there, and it was all freaking out and crying and screaming. The lion actually went over there, picked it up, and kept it.
Really?
It was part of the killing of the mom, and that, but it kept the baby protected. And when other lions tried to come around, it fought them off.
Really?
Yeah, and it showed that the lion kept the baby for quite a while until another monkey was able to come over and snatch it and get it up in the trees again.
I'll be danged.
So,
But,
That's interesting.
I mean,
Mother Nature, she's interesting.
right?
You know.
Wow.
I mean, who's to say that if Sasquatch is there,
Yeah.
saw a lost boy out in the woods, why not?
Right.
I mean,
It's
That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was in the news and everything. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty.
that is
Amazing.
I find that quite interesting when you told that story last night.
And
It
then
was like,
somebody, maybe it was Dan last night. We were eating dinner, and somebody told me this. It was somebody else. There was a missing child, and when the search party found the child, child was up on like a 20-foot rock, just sitting there. There's no way to get to it. 20-foot rock, and it was placed up there, and the child's just sitting there. It's like-
Wow. Was there any like report? Did he have any information? Was the
I
child
don't know- I
able
don't
to
know if
talk
they-
or?
I don't
tell-
know if they got anything out of it,
Wow.
but the child was sitting on a 20-foot rock.
That's
There's no
wild.
way for that child to do that.
Yeah. Hmm.
But it could be aliens.
could be.
Could be aliens.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's aliens, but
Speaking of that, wait till you see if the artwork gets approved for the festival, you're gonna love the T-shirt for the festival.
yeah, cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dan's been working on it. Yeah, we saw the finishing works of it this morning and everything. So hopefully it goes through. Oh, it's gonna look good.
Cool.
You're
Awesome.
gonna you're gonna love the cover of it.
Yeah.
Stephanie's gonna love the cover of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So do you think the aliens that actually abduct the rednecks are just the redneck version of the aliens? You know, everybody knows rednecks are attracted by flashy things. That's why bass boats have got glitter and fishing lures. You know, like kinds attract sometimes. So
Yeah.
Here's those UFOs with all the multiple colors.
yeah.
They're picking up the farmers. That's why they're always out there in the woods. And
Maybe that's why they make Tide Pods that squirrely color too. So, okay.
it's all related. It's all related.
Well, I have successfully cracked up to Jeremiah. It's a good night. Yes,
It's been a while since I've heard a good Tide Pod joke.
and none of this is scripted because I want to be surprised by what comes out of my face too. Okay. So,
That's awesome.
but get a little more serious on the alien side though. With all the planets that's out there, we know here on Mother Earth that Mother Nature abhors a vacuum. She just does not like a vacuum. You can take the most desolate places that you ever want to go to, a desert, to Antarctica, to the Arctic, and there's some type of life there.
Right?
Why would we be so naive to think we're the only ones? You know,
That's what I've always
Yeah.
said. It's what I've always said.
and you know,
Yeah.
so consequently, these things. They may not look like us. They may not talk like us. Then again, they may be listening in. And if you are, thank you, friend, for listening in. They're paying attention to us, but they're so much farther advanced that they're like, we're not ready to interact with the human race yet. You haven't evolved enough.
Right.
You know.
Something that I always think about and try to put it in my mind in a perspective of where we are, because everybody thinks that we're the center of everything.
Right.
Where should I, poke that bear? Most Christians will like to think that we're the center of everything, and I'll just say that because it's true.
Yeah.
But if you would think about it and how big everything is,
Right.
in reality, if you think about it, so we're like a little dot, like right here. We're just like this little dot in this little picture.
Yep.
Just a little fleck.
Mm-hmm.
The house is our galaxies, the Milky Way. Outside is our universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just there's multiple, and every house is another galaxy, and that's just how it is.
Yep.
And why would we be the only thing?
I personally just don't believe we are.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're coming to Earth and visiting, that I'm open to.
And why are they picking up cows and
Yeah.
killing cows?
Yeah. Why are they only picking up dumb rednecks?
Well,
and
well, there's could be a lot of reasons for that, though.
okay.
Experimenting. It's easier and more fun for them to do so.
I will go with that.
What if they have a good personality too, and they just want to have some fun with poking the stupid person?
There was a post on Facebook a while back that the aliens made the mistake of picking up a bear one time. Said one time. Said we don't pick up big hairy things anymore. Said, well, there's a few of us that are safe, and had you saw me last night, I had the big beard, and because of
That's true.
I decided to clean up a little bit.
I was like, yeah, you do look different tonight.
Yeah, every so often you kind of try and be respectable or something.
Why?
So back to UFOs and all that stuff. So do you have any inclination, that possibility, because I know that there's a few people out there that believe that Sasquatch and certain mythical creatures like that are associated to
Yep.
flying saucers and stuff.
Right.
Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I do know there are certain native cultures, Aboriginal cultures that believe that not necessarily. I can't remember if I've heard any like Native American lore that goes along this line or not, but in other areas, other places in the world, there are Aboriginal stories that attribute their version of Sasquatch to being what they would have only known to interpret at the time as a spiritual being.
Mm-hmm.
They the Tibetan Buddhists with the Yeti is a prime example of that. They've got the one. Is it a skull cap or something enshrined?
It's like a scalp. But I think Josh Gates, as of recently, has gotten permission to go up there. Do you ever watch him? No, Expedition Unknown. So he went up there and he actually was given permission to take like a strand of hair. Whether or not they've tested it yet, I don't know. Have they?
Yes, comes back unknown.
Unknown.
Interesting.
Came back unknown.
And see, but a lot of people were thinking that it was like part of a goat.
Right.
Well,
But
the popular theory was that it was the skull cap off a Siberian, not Siberian, but a Tibetan bear.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
bear.
but then when they tested it, because that's one that caught my interest, and when they did the test on it, it came back that it was some of the hairs that had been collected because he always collects like 20, 30 samples from different areas.
Right.
And most of them, some of them come back dog, some of them come back Tibetan bear. There's like 2 or 3 bear species that can be in that area, and they're saying that it does. This bear lives at this altitude, and this bear lives at this, and and they tested it against all 3, and it came back unknown.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
And it was red hair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole Abominable Snowman Yeti all white thing was a misinterpretation
Right.
by
Right.
another journalist that
Right.
wrote it wrong.
Back to what I was saying, there are the some of the ancient lores that
Right.
that always spoke of and interpreted the Sasquatch or their version of the Sasquatch as a spiritual being. Now back however many years ago, when that lore first came about, how else would they interpret something that could travel interdimensionally? Now I know there's a lot of Bigfoot researchers out there that would really just want to have my hide over that, because their going popular theory is that it's an undiscovered species of great ape.
Right.
And I have no problem with that theory, but I don't want to. I've seen so much shit that I can't explain.
Very true.
I
We're-
don't
we're
want
doing-
to limit myself to that one line of thinking. I
We're
think
doing-
that's foolish.
We're doing the
Right,
balance thing.
right.
Okay, there's so much evidence here. There's so much evidence here.
And really, when it boils down to it, we don't know. We don't have a clue.
Well, just like, are we alone?
Yeah,
We don't know,
exactly.
but I like to think that we're not.
Yeah.
So is Sasquatch mythical in any way? I don't know.
Yeah.
But could be.
Or is he one? Is he just one species of aliens that's coming?
I've seen a little bit of research. I've never really dug into it a great deal, because my deal's always been more focused and centered on spirits. But I've seen a little bit of research that pointed to the possibility that in areas where there are a lot of Sasquatch sightings, there tend to be an increase in UFO sightings or UFO-related activity. And I think that would bear out like down in Oklahoma where we've been. There's a lot of UFO sightings down there in that area. There's also, Tahlequah was 5 miles from that specific location near Tahlequah was like 5 miles from the Sasquatch capital of Oklahoma. The Pumpkin Hollow.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I don't know, but there's
Even
I don't
in
think-
Alaska and all the native, the natives up there, some of the totem poles even have Sasquatch in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, they believe.
Yeah. And look at the discoveries that are documentable that they've got right now, that they always used to believe that brown bears, Kodiak bears, and grizzly bears couldn't intermix.
Right.
And now they're starting to find that these hybrids are there. So Mother Nature's going to fill that vacuum.
Yeah.
And they're not done. I mean, look at the human race. Back in when the depot was built, if you saw somebody was 6 foot, he was a giant. And now you see somebody 6 foot and you go, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm an average sized Joe,
Unless
Hey,
you're
what am
standing
I?
by us,
Well,
What am I? Come on.
You're built for comfort, not for speed. Yeah.
Well, you should just see, like last night, I was like, we were listening to you talking and introducing everything last night, and I'm standing next to Jake, and I'm just like, I just kept looking. It's like, and then I look up photographs of us, it's just like, oh my God,
Yeah, and then some smart ass goes, stand up, Jason. And oh, you are. That's the other thing that I appreciate about you guys is you do have a sense of humor. I forget which one, may have been Dan, may have been Jake, said, "Oh, there comes Crazy Carl," and I'm like, I don't really like that nickname, but okay, it's amongst friends, And I think it was you one night said, "Oh, it's Crazy Captain Carl on the phone," and I'm like, oh, no, just Captain, So But you got to have a sense of humor about some of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know. So we have fun.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting mix of people that you bring together. So once again, thanks for that.
It's fun.
It is, and that the way we are all interconnected, you know, is just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell this story on myself, that when I came home from the service and first met Cindy, I was a spooky son of a gun. Fact of the matter is she, if I was asleep on the bed and she went to wake me up, the co-op there in little town Ulysses used to give 4-foot rulers away. And she would take that and poke me to wake me up. And more than one got broke, and she'd have to go down to the co-op. I need another ruler. Carl, break another one. So, you know, that's how we move through these things and end up the crazy people that we are. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Normal and sane is overrated.
Yeah. Sanity's overrated in some cases. But would we be talking about the subjects that we're talking about if we weren't open-minded and didn't have a sense of humor
Right.
about it?
Well, speaking of it, having an open mind, another article that I was looking at talked about 2 doctors who say that they have proof, or they are doing a study where they believe that when the person dies, the soul actually goes back to the universe.
Wow. Very cool.
So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, of course, you know what I believe. I think that's a very, very real thing. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
Like, is the universe heaven?
I don't have the same concept of heaven and hell that your average person around here has.
Well, I think they've been power suggestion.
Yeah.
Been told what it's supposed to look like and be like.
Right,
You know?
right. You know, when I talk about someone passing away, you'll often hear me say the term "crossing the veil," and that's basically what, you know. Okay, so if you want to, my thoughts, my beliefs on it, is if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty about it, is that I believe that, you know, what we call the spirit world or the spirit realm, it's right here. It's all around us. It actually overlays the physical realm. The only difference is there's a veil there that keeps us from interacting with spirits in large part. There are those that come pay us a visit, and there are those of us that can, you know, jump to the other side of the veil every now and again. But they're right here. It's all around us. And when I hear someone say something about, like, you know, like what you were saying, the energy going back to the universe, that's what my line of thinking is on that. You know, you just cross the veil, and
Because we're in the universe.
yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just not confined to that physical body anymore.
Yeah.
So
I just thought it was an interesting study that they're trying to actually figure out where that is going. And Josh Gates had an episode, you know, he's been having episodes of, you know, crossing over and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and they were actual people that were, the doctor was actually saying how, you know, that they can actually tell that the spirit is leaving the body
right.
and stuff.
They've actually, and I can't remember what program it was on, so, but basically had thermal imaging working and
Really?
actually picked this, you know, energy leaving. So what happens to it after it leaves, which opens the door for reincarnation, you know. You may be blip in another universe, you know. But once again, energy, you know, the scientists say energy can never be created or destroyed.
Right.
It just changes form.
Right.
So we're all made up of energy. And I can tell you, and I've actually had this conversation with Jake, that I was a professional mechanic on my days off from the fire department. And there would be a piece of equipment that came in that may have been made in the 40s. And never seen one of them before in my life. Now, some of it's mechanical aptitude that I'd look at it and go, oh yeah, take it apart. But there's been other times that I've stared at this and went like, okay, if I do this, I do this, I do this. And it's like, okay, how do I know that?
Right.
I attribute a certain part of it to mechanical aptitude, but yet on the other hand, is that a past life or something that is being imparted to me that, oh yeah, do this and this and this, Carl?
Oh, and that opens up a whole other can of worms dealing with Akashic records and all kinds of stuff. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that?
I don't. So
Okay.
I do. I've heard other people talk about it, and just the other night I was watching TV. I was watching Ancient Aliens, and it was mentioned, and I was just busy doing other things, but I remember hearing that, and I'm like, oh.
So the Akashic record is basically like it's basically like the universe's library, and it contains every amount of every piece of knowledge that ever has been, is, or will be, and it's all centrally kind of I only say that because it's easier to comprehend,
right?
But it's every once in a while. And this is where intuition comes in. As human beings, we often come across something where, we get that gut feeling or that intuition, the red flags go up, and we really don't have any way to know these things, but we just, our gut's talking to us, and it's like, okay, maybe I better not ignore that. Or maybe you do ignore it and, you learn a lesson from it, that type of thing. But a lot of people attribute that to like a temporary tapping into the Akashic record, and you just get this little flash of knowledge, and it's just, your body interprets it as a gut feeling or a red flag or your intuition speaking to you or something like that, Or, like in the case of you working on something, you're so in depth and so involved in the thought process with it, and you just, a part of your mind just kind of taps into that Akashic record right quick and, oh, that's how that works,
Because to go along with your train of thought, we were having issues with one of our heating and air conditioning units there at the depot, okay? And Cindy and I are out on the Harley, and we're cruising down the road. I got my feet on the highway pegs. I got tunes playing, and my mind is just relaxed. And then all of a sudden, this little grain of thought pops in the back of my head going, I wonder if it could be this. I get back, walk up to the piece of equipment, go, tighten one set screw, into problem.
Wow.
So the fact that you calm yourself down, now, is it the fact that because my mind was free, that I was able to figure that out on my own, or was that some type of a connection?
Right.
Because, once again, I tell stories of myself all the time. My wife will tell you that if I've got a major project going on or a major problem going on, I'll lay there at night and dream about it, and sometimes I even get up and act it out. She was, 7 months pregnant? Yeah. And I'm dreaming about this truck that I've got to work on. I got to pull a major semi-transmission out. And she's comfortable in the bed, said it's the best night's sleep she's had, so all of you women that have been pregnant will understand that part of the story. And she wakes up and she's down at the foot of the bed. And so she crawls back up, gets all settled in, and about the time she does, I grab her by the foot, and I'm down at the foot of the bed pulling on her leg going, cussing this transmission that won't come out of this truck. And in my brain, I'm working on this truck. Of course, she slaps me upside the head, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what. But we do things like that, you know.
My arm's also been a screwdriver in.
Yeah. So, yes, I don't claim to be normal.
Well, you know, like I said, normal's overrated.
It's deja vu, even
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. You know,
Yep.
could be.
Yeah.
Yep. And have you experienced deja vu?
Oh yeah.
Yep. I have too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll dream it, and then I'll actually live it,
Mhm.
and it hits me, and I'm like, oh, I've already been here. I've
Right.
already done that,
Right.
or at least in my mind, I have.
Right.
Yep.
Or am I doing it again, and I'm just living like a Groundhog's Day kind of experience,
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it again until I do it right.
Right.
Yep. Groundhog Day, but you do it right the second
Yeah,
time.
right.
You learned your lesson the
Yeah.
first time. Yeah.
What if you did? What if we are?
Yeah. You never know. I mean,
Yeah.
according to all the movies and shows, sometimes you remember, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Or you're sitting there, you know. Now, in the psychology side of it, and the older I get, the more I tend to suffer from this. They tell us that every time you walk through a door, your brain reboots. And that's why that you get up and you head to the kitchen, and you get to the kitchen and go, what did I come in here for? See, there's a gap in the matrix there.
Right. Right.
So,
It's not old age.
well,
I'm just kidding.
no.
That's usually more for him.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the oldest one here, but I'm probably second.
Ruth?
No,
Oh, okay.
a little closer. Yeah, so you
Big-
noticed,
yeah.
you noticed I ducked in case something.
Do we
comes
need to
along.
Do we need to be watching out for the 4-foot ruler?
I can retire next year.
But that once again is as we learn as we get older. The first thing we learn is that we didn't know everything that we thought we knew.
Mhm.
You know, it's one thing to be 18 and know everything, and it's something else to be 60 plus and going, you know, some of the stuff I really thought I knew, I didn't know. So that's one reason that when you guys are there, that I try and impart knowledge to you guys, because 20 years from now, I hope you guys are still coming out and still doing the building, whether I'm there or not, you know. But you'll be able to tell stories about, did you ever meet that crazy old guy that used to be here? You know. So, and I'm okay with that. But
I hope we're still going.
Yeah.
You know, back.
Absolutely.
so,
You know, I mean,
uh,
as long as you're there, as long as they, you guys welcome us back.
so is there anything else that we need to bring up that I'm interrupted you on?
No, we're good.
Darn it.
We no, just we got like what 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're just finishing up on the more details, on final details for our festival that's going to happen in Wilson on April 26th and 27th. Hoping for that to be a pretty good thing. We're going to have Brandon Callahan, author of 2 books, been on TV on 2 different shows.
Yeah.
He's a paranormal investigator and author. He's done a lot with you.
Yeah.
There's going to be Darren Detto, former KSN news journalist. That's going to be there. He's going to be there going over his former show that he used to have, which was called the Unexplained Cases. So he's going to be there to present. We're going to have Rich and Dennis from Colorado Paratech
Cool.
out there. Really looking forward to their driving all the way from. Well, Dennis lives here. He lives up in Oakland,
Oh. Okay.
actually, and Rich lives out in Colorado, out by
Okay.
Cannon City. But he's driving in town. They're going to be coming in, and they're going to be doing all that and
Cool.
presenting and all that. You're going to be doing some stuff
Yep.
out there.
Yeah.
I know Melinda, the owner of the hotel, is going to have a gentleman out there who have never been around this before, so it's going to be interesting. But he actually tries to record sounds of the earth, plants, the communication between this or that of the universe and stuff like that. You know, like trees,
Very interesting.
plants, stuff like that. Like sees if there's like any kind of connection between talking and communication with it.
That just triggered something that I thought about driving out here today that I wanted to bring up, and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting
Go
what
for
you
it.
need to be doing.
No, go for it.
My question is for both of you is, do you enjoy music?
No. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and not picking a particular genre of music. I just had this thought come in my head as I'm an old rock and roller guy. You know, beer drinking country western makes me want to drive the car off the side of the road, you know, and I understand if you play it backwards that your dog comes home and your wife quits sleeping with your neighbor, you know. But and you no longer feel like you need a bottle of Jack just to get up in the morning.
Well, yeah.
But how this ties into that,
Yeah.
that you is, I don't always listen to the words, and part of that's because of my hearing loss and everything else. But it's the vibrations that certain music, you know, if you're wanting to get amped up, you put on some AC/DC or something like that that's got a heavy beat and a lot of vibration to it. And if you're wanting to calm down, maybe you're listening to John Denver or yeah, I'm telling my age again.
Hey, I like John Denver. So.
But you know what I'm
Right.
getting at
Right.
is that also why we interact with the people that we do, is because the vibrations of their voice and their the subconscious communication that goes on amongst us
That
is
feel.
is why we start linking together. And somebody that's on a different vibration than us, we don't understand them or don't communicate well with them. It's as much a language as it is that piece.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely does. It absolutely. There's a lot of evidence about a lot of study and a lot of evidence going on right now about vibrational frequency and the
windmills.
yes, just and how it affects us, how it affects our energy, how it affects our mood and our ability to communicate with others, and our just everywhere from relationships to even on up to our health.
Yeah.
And just I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot to that.
Did you ever hear? Somebody was telling me about this experiment they did with like 2 or 3 different plants or something like that, where one they would open it up and like say very kind, good things to it, and then cover it back up. The other one they ignored.
Right?
Another one they would curse at it and put it away, and then they all grew differently.
Yeah.
One decayed. One
Yeah.
just totally just went.
Did-
one
did-
just grew. Yeah. So
Did you actually watch that MythBusters did that?
No, I didn't. No.
MythBusters actually did that they had separate tents, all in the same location, but enough isolation to keep these plants. And they played opera in one, they played rock and roll in the other, they played trash metal in another. One of them, they walked in, oh, you're looking so lovely, and you're doing this, and they all had the same amount of water, the same fertilizer,
Right.
same seeds came out of the same bag, and then the next one they walked in, and it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
See, and so maybe this guy that's going to be there, I never really thought about it but the more I think about him doing the recordings and trying to see if there's any sounds coming
Right.
from,
Yeah.
I mean, Rose, we were talking about, we were with Melinda when she was talking about that and everything, but he's also going to be doing, what is it, like an earth wheel out there? Have you ever heard that or something like that?
Oh, like medicine wheel?
Medicine wheel.
Okay.
Medicine wheel. He's going to be out there doing that too. Now, I don't know what that is,
Okay.
but he's going to be out there on the property doing that.
I've got a little bit of that from my American Indian studies that I'm certainly interested,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But that certain colors, and this is the other thought that popped in my head while I was thinking about this, is I know a number of you are into crystals and stuff like that. And different crystals give out
Yes.
different vibrations
Yep.
and can affect different parts of your body. The AMA is not going to come out and tell us that this works, and I'm not going to tell you it
Right.
works. But if up here you think it works, that's half the battle.
Yep.
You know, I wear a copper bracelet, and yeah, and I didn't necessarily think that it was going to help with the arthritis and stuff, but I started wearing it, and I got to tell you, in my mind, it works, and it works for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Power suggestion.
power of suggestion, very
Or
positive.
real.
You know,
No, that's an honest. that's
yeah.
an-
Yeah.
I tell you what, on that note in specific, I do believe there is something to the medicinal quality of copper bracelets and copper jewelry. Mine was a gift to me for Christmas. I didn't even know I was going to get it, and I wasn't thinking at all about it, about that aspect of it. I wore it because it was a gift to me, a Christmas gift. But I tell you, you know, I've got a neck with 2 whiplash injuries under its belt, and I can, you know, it helps my neck. And if I go a day without it, I can tell the difference. There is definitely a difference.
Okay, so what about, I heard, you know, because doing investigations and stuff, we use the copper dowsing rods.
Well,
So
copper's
is that-
very
Because
conductive.
they always say copper is the best way to use it. And we use those, I use those and hand them to the guests. You let them
Yep.
use it. And they have quite a bit of activity with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
My granddaughter's a prime example of it.
She was having a blast last night.
Yes, she was, and you know, the other side of me is going, okay, if you tilt your wrist just a little bit or do this,
But if you're just being,
And-
if you're being true
and
to it, you're
my
just
wife
holding it.
corrected me and said that they videoed her and
Yeah.
she's
Because they have the sleeves on them, you
Yeah.
know, and you just hold them. I tell people not to just grip it, just hold it, be nice and steady, and arms to, you know.
Yep.
you
It
know,
works. I mean,
Yep.
farmers use it. Everybody,
Yep.
a lot of people use them.
That was the first I had ever been around it. Was we were out actually looking for a natural gas line out in the field, and the old boy whoops out it, and they were just bent welding
Right.
rods, no sleeves on them or anything else. And he goes, dig. He
Yep.
took his heel and marked in the dirt and said, "Dig right there."
Yep.
6 foot down, there it was.
Yep.
And I'm like, so you know.
I've seen water witches work that way,
Yeah.
and grave witches and grave hunters like what Charlene does.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, she
looking
goes out-
looking for unmarked graves.
unmarked graves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's guys last night that were talking about that. You know, I mean, looking at them, you know, they just seem like the typical guys that wouldn't be taking it all for serious, you know. But they were all into it, and they actually knew about all that we were doing and
Right.
everything. So
Yep.
it was interesting to see their aspect on it and everything.
Yeah.
So
On the crystals, Carl. So next time you have a chance, if you ever happen to be out anywhere and see any, pick yourself up an amethyst crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And next time you go on an investigation, stick that amethyst in your pocket, and see how you feel at the end of that investigation.
Okay.
I'm betting you don't feel quite as drained.
I'll be darned. Oh,
So-
no. Yeah. Now, is there a particular color that's better than others? or just-
That's just amethyst. Amethyst is generally purple or pink.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what my brain was
Yeah.
saying. You know, my dad was a science teacher and rock hound, so we always had rocks and did rock polishing and everything like that. So made jewelry. It's like hadn't even thought about that until you brought that up. I hadn't even thought about that in years, you know. But yeah, I'll give that a try.
okay.
And then a Bud Light in the back pocket to give to Jason, right?
That's all he needs. Yeah. Me too, but.
Pina colada in the summer.
Only when I'm here. All right, so we got 4 minutes left. Anything else?
Well, I don't know whether there's time to bring it up or not, but I wanted to revisit conspiracy theories.
Okay.
4
Okay.
minute. Yeah, go for it.
Well, we're gonna cut to the prime chase. Did you get a chance to look at the Zapruder's film from JFK?
Yeah, many times.
Okay, you remember the conversation we had several weeks ago about the Secret Service agent,
The possibility of him
yeah,
being in the car and he had his rifle out.
and it's hard to explain over the phone,
Right.
but you have what you call sympathetic movement, okay? And that is if this hand, imagine this hand, I'm holding a gun, and I've got my finger out at the trigger, okay? But it's a handgun or a semi-auto or,
Right.
okay? As I reach to do this, as I come up with this hand, I'm going to reach with this hand to try and grab on. As I grab with this hand, this finger sympathetically flexes,
True.
okay?
True.
And I believe from what I've been able to look at is that's exactly what happened.
You mean it was Jackie's Secret Service man that was jumping on the back? Did
Yep.
he have his gun out?
He had his gun out. You can see it in his hand as he tries to come up over. That-
I've not
Wow.
had the chance to watch any
That-
of that, so.
and
that's
I
cool.
think that's the
interesting.
reason that they didn't want Dallas police doing it, because they were going to find a 9mm slug in JFK from this guy's. It's either going to be a 380, which is about the same thing as a 9mm. It's just a lighter bullet.
Right.
Because I can't tell whether he was carrying an Ingram or whether it's like a Model 38 Smith & Wesson that he's had in the hand. Both of them were known to carry those. So that's where I stand today on that particular thing. But
That's an interesting concept.
I've never
Yeah.
heard that.
Yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine that's an old Marine Corps drill sergeant actually started me looking at it, and he goes, as we jokingly say in the firearm industry, keep the booger hook off the bang switch, okay? But natural reaction is if there's an active shooter situation, you're gonna be in an aggressive stance, and you're not. Back in those days, we didn't beat it into people as hard as we do today, that the finger goes alongside the frame.
Right.
So, you're stressed. These things are happening in a hurry. You've got a job to do. That's to protect her.
But
Okay.
when there's shots going out, he
Yeah.
probably did
Yeah.
whip it out.
Yeah. So I've been trying to find a clear enough video to watch,
Right.
and the ones that I've seen, you see it's like this as he comes up over. So as he's trying to grab her, if it's like this, all it takes is about a pound of pressure,
And that would do the whole
yeah.
snapping back. I
Right.
mean, if it was that close, that impact,
Right.
that would,
Yeah.
explain the huge
Yeah.
explosion
Yep.
Huh.
So
and everything.
just a little something to throw out there
Wow.
for you guys to kick back on about.
I'm gonna have to talk to Leo about that one. Hopefully he's watching this.
Yeah.
He was.
And I'm sorry for all of the people that think that the World Trade Center was a inside job. I got to call BS on it. 2 major points. First of all, it would have taken over 200 people to rig the explosives in that building. One of them would have talked by now.
Very true.
Seriously.
Just like we filmed the moon landing.
Right. Right.
It would have come out by now.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody would have saw an opportunity. Somebody, that hey, for $1 million, I'll tell you what really happened.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
And with my history in the fire service and collapse and trench rescue and collapse rescue, if you deteriorate this set of columns that's in the center of the building, when it goes bam, this floor can no longer, it just bam, 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 bam.
Yep. And
I've
it
had
will.
and he didn't use anything more than black powder. But it's putting it in the right place.
Yeah.
Right.
And to get a collapse that is that vertical, you watch the professionals that do it and they spend weeks and months of planning with the plans and everything on where to set these charges, where to sever this and everything else. Somebody would have saw something.
Yeah.
A janitor,
Yeah.
somebody working late, you know. Hey, there's
Yeah.
200 strange people in the building. What's going on with this?
You know,
Right.
I'm sorry, but the whole thing, you know, the thing that these people keep trying to call bullshit on is the whole failure of, you know, the heat that caused the girder failure to collapse, and that just overloaded the floor, all the floors below it, and the sudden shock and all. I'm sorry, but that is just not that far-fetched. It really is not.
Especially if you actually look at the way the building was built.
Yeah.
Because you take a house, let's take this room right here. I know the audience can't see it, but there's pillars sitting right here that
Yep.
are holding the next floor up.
Yep.
If I take a chainsaw and I take that out, what's it going to do?
Right?
You know? So the way the World Trade Centers were built, to maximize the amount of space for the offices and stuff in it, they were large open areas. You had supporting outer walls, you had a supporting center column.
Mm-hmm.
You drive in there at 700 mile an hour, which if you listen to the videos, you can hear the engines accelerate. Once they realize that they got the plane where they want it, it's
Yep.
balls to the walls.
Yep.
And so consequently, to penetrate that in, and
And you get all that jet fuel up in there burning, and jet fuel burns hot enough. It may not burn. I don't know if it burns hot enough to melt steel, but you don't have to melt it. You have to weaken it.
Well,
Yes.
and not
Yeah.
to mention anything that was actually in the building anyway that would have ignited and has exploded
Yeah.
too,
Right.
yeah.
along with everything else.
Back when I went to one of the first fire schools here in Wichita, as a matter of fact, we were doing pit fires with JP4 jet fuel.
Oh Jesus, I hated pit fire training. Oh my God, I hated pit fire training.
And I'm on hose number 4. Okay, so you've got 4 hoses, if you can imagine. They're out like this. This is hose number 4, all the way over on the right side. The commander is standing between these 2 lines, takes these 3 lines and goes out around the pit, leaves me right here. Well, as soon as they round the pit and start putting water sideways on it, they blow all of that fire over the top of me and my
Yep.
crew. And the instructor comes running over. We call him Bubbles now, by the way. He comes running over and ducks in behind me on the nozzle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, just stay here, just stay here, just stay here. And I'm like, I want the heck out of here, you
Yeah.
know. And it actually blistered the top of his helmet, and he was never actually touched by the fire, just the heat of the fire that
Yeah.
was rolling over the top of us. So 1800 degrees is
Yeah.
an open JP4 fuel, which is jet fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yeah. The other
Yep.
thing was that they went back in and the steel structures in that building had a spray-on fire coating on it, which was super, super strong if you've got normal building components on fire.
Right.
Okay? It'll resist that. But once you shock it, it falls off like sheetrock.
Yep.
So, now some of this information that I'm sharing with you came from the International Arsons Investigators, of which I was retired out of. So you take it for what it's worth. That's where that is.
I got a question because it's not often that you're here. Have you talked, with your knowledge that you have you ever talked to an actual engineer that helped build something like that?
I have,
That are-
not
I mean,
that
'cause most
particular.
of those are supposed to be fire safe, aren't they? The steel.
Well, fire safe
So-
under normal under a normal structure fire,
like a
but you're
fire,
not
okay.
talking about a normal structure fire there. I mean, there's probably what, I don't know, 1,000 gallons of jet fuel dumped
They
in
were
in
fully
that,
loaded.
and,
Probably
you know, burning
closer
at
to
15,
10,000
1800
gallons.
degrees.
Yeah,
Well, and the building was actually made to take an impact
right.
of a plane.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even the first time it's been hit.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's another time that it was actually hit by
Well,
a plane.
was 1945, 1946 that a B-25 flew into the side of what's the other big building?
Empire.
State Building.
Empire State Building. Actually burned out 5 floors of that.
Right.
But it had a combination of outside retaining walls and interior steel structures. It was built cube style instead of the way the open architecture of the World Trade Center. So you take the structural engineers that when the Bruce elevator blew up down in Hayesville, actually visited with those guys as we were doing the post on it. I didn't actually work that scene, but it was a topic that came up at one of our schools, and he explained why. First of all, was the things that led up to it exploding. You can do the same thing in your house, guys and girls. So when the wife's in the kitchen, don't goose her when she's playing with the flour. Okay.
Right, yeah.
But why that blew the way it did, and why it didn't come down.
Right.
Grain elevators in southwest Kansas was a big concern because of the hazard. And now I'm getting way off of what we started on tonight, but in the fire service, I taught hazardous material chemistry. And when we talk pre-planning of structures, we always wanted to talk about methyl ethyl death, which is methyl ethyl ketone, methyl ethyl bikenzyl chloride, and some of these other exotic chemicals that they only use in certain little areas of California where they build computers. But this stuff's like, you put a drop on this table and we all fall over dead.
Right.
So everybody wants to talk about that. And I had a wonderful instructor out of Florida who was Dr. Doom, is what we called him, Dr. Chris Waters. And he's like, Carl, do you have any zebras in Dodge City? No. No zebras in Dodge City that I know of. Do you have horses? Yeah. So take that philosophy and go, okay, plan that you're going to have a horse problem, and if a zebra happens to show up, we'll take care of that. Pick your major things, and that's what you concentrate on, and that's where we're at today. So it's just part of my thought process, and has nothing to do with aliens and Bigfoot, but it's that thought process that's got me here today, that I'm open-minded to go, Bigfoot, haven't seen him. I've met Roth though, so
Throw Roth under the boat.
Hey, they threw me under the bus earlier. I had to get it. I'll shut up. Thanks again for letting me be here.
No problem.
I hoped I didn't scare all your listeners and readers off.
No.
This
is fun.
Yeah. I had a great time.
Absolutely.
So.
We did too.
You done?
Right. I'm done if you're done.
All right. I think we're done.
All right.
All right.
That was
Well,
awesome.
thank you for logging on and watching with us tonight. And
Oh, thanks for having me.
catch us. Are we going to be here next weekend? Is next weekend the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl's next weekend.
No, we
so
probably
I
won't be here.
anybody's
I
gonna be
doubt
watching.
we'll be here next weekend.
Yeah.
So count on it 2 weeks from tonight, and we'll be back with more fun stuff to talk about, and we'll have some more updates for you on upcoming events. And in the meantime, don't forget to send us a message. Give us a call. Drop an email. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time around.
All right. 2 weeks.
Have a great evening.